Y'all have no idea how much missing the last Afterthoughts hurt your boy, man, because 1096 was incredible. But for this one, for 1097, I wasn't missing it no matter what. No matter what, man. And so we are going to get this one out. We're going to get it out early. We're going to get this one out on normal scheduled time. All right? Because, man, listen, bro. When you have 2 chapters back to back in what is currently being set up to be one of the greatest flashbacks in this series for one of the best characters in Bartholomew Kuma, Pastor Bartholomew Kuma. Yo, man, when in 2 back-to-back chapters, you get the God Valley incident, Roger with a straw hat, Rock's crew, Shiki and my manga, Gloriosa, Stussy, Big Mom, Yakuju no Kaido, and Edward Newgate pulling up on an island where Rox is currently searching for some type of treasure. What is that treasure? I don't know. We're gonna talk about it. But when you have Garp, Rox's legendary crew, Roger with a straw hat in a single place at one time, followed by Kuma and Garcia Saturn greatness. And then in this week's chapter, Monkey D. Dragon confirmed to be a Marine. There was no justice to be found. The creation of the Revolutionary Army with chapter 1066 and this. Man, but Kuma, nothing happened every single Sunday. God, man, yo, he's a special character. He's a special breed. He's him. He's him. Kuma, man, rent-free. The character has been rent-free his entire journey up until this point. How deliberate Oda has been with every aspect of Bartholomew Kuma, Pastor Bartholomew Kuma's character. Every single thing, from design to interactions to who he was introduced with, to all the lines to Labark and Sabaody and Marineford and Return to Sabaody up until now. Everything has been so deliberate. This is one of Oda's magnum opus characters. This one character showcases the brilliance of Ichiro Oda and the patience that it requires to tell a story over a prolonged period of time and still keep the consistencies in check. It's insane, man. It is actually insane. The amount of detail that has gone into the intricacies of telling Kuma's story throughout the course of the series. It's incredible, man. It's incredible. So we're going to get into this week's Afterthoughts immediately, dive into some comments, because, man, this flashback from chapter 1095 until now has been sensational. It is already fighting for my favorite flashback. It is one of the saddest, most tragic flashbacks. It's one of the most hype flashbacks. It has so much going for it, but at its core, at its center, Kuma and Ginny's relationship, and Kuma in particular, are really, really strong parts of this flashback. And this most recent chapter was showcased that in full display. But going into 1098, and then 1099 following that before 1100, I wonder in what direction we're going to go in from here on out. Before we get into that, let's dive into some 1096 comments, and then we're going to go into 1097. So there's a lot of... Yo, man, I appreciate everybody who stopped by to deliver on some comments. There was some great comments on both the 1096 and the 1097 Afterthoughts. So I appreciate y'all so much for that. But let's go ahead and get started here with a God Valley comment from Pirate King Buggy. PK Buggy says, personally, I'm glad we are focusing more on Kuma and the Revolutionaries for now, even though I'm sad we have to wait to see the rest of God Valley. I'm wondering, though, when do you think we will get the rest? It would have to be through somebody that was there, right? My guess would be Big Mom, she's at Elbaf, or maybe the man with the burn scar could be connected in some way. That is a great comment for an observation on the possibility of the man with the burn scar being the individual who could tell us the rest of the God Valley incident. I'm still going to hold off on it being either Garp or Garling, considering how deeply connected both of those characters are to the situation and scenario at hand. Which, by the way, man, I was presented with a theory of Garling potentially talking to his children in that chapter, indicating there's more than one, right? And like the Shanks evil twin theory and stuff is like, yo, man, there's so many possibilities. It's crazy. It's crazy. But you know, it's like, oh man, Garling, dude, Garling, Roger, Garp, Rocks, yeah, they white the entire crew. It's like, yo, man, it's crazy. But in regards to when we'll get the rest of it, I do think it's gonna be through Garp or Garling's point of view. But you're right, it could be through Big Mom's point of view, or we just continue to put the pieces together as the series progresses. But if Big Mom is going to put another piece of the puzzle out there, it is probably going to be at Elbaf. And it wouldn't surprise me if that is whenever because at Elbaf we're definitely going to learn a lot. Now, especially that Saul is going to be there, we're going to learn a lot about the importance of the Giants, the Buccaneer race, the connection to Nika, and the Giant Straw Hat potentially. A lot of stuff there in regards to the importance of the Giants back in the past, for sure. But in regards to the God Valley incident, specifically with the Buccaneers, that may be where we get a lot of great insight into that, and that could be through Big Mom's perspective. The man with the burn scar, though, is really interesting. Depending on who that is, they most certainly could give us a nice perspective on that. But I'm still going to hold off on it being Garling or Garp, but I like your two ideas as well. But I'm going to say for the when, if Garp dies in the series, it's going to be right before then. Or while he's captured at this point in time. Very, very soon we'll dive into his headspace. Because we're probably going to see his entire time, right? And through, maybe not in extreme detail, which I hope we get some sort of stuff like that, like an OVA down the line. That would be amazing. A Garp spinoff. But at the very least, getting his perspective on a lot of these things, especially having to fight alongside Roger to protect the Celestial Dragons, right? There's so many things that I want to get his perspective on. And Garling, because I feel like that's such an interesting thing, you know, with one of the Holy Knights. How is his mindset going to be in regards to a situation like that, and his perspective? So I would love to see it from either of those two. And because of that, it's going to be whenever both of those characters are the central focus of the story. Which for Garp, it could be at any moment now, considering that he already is a central focus, and Garling down the line. So I'm going to stay true to one of those. But great comment, Pirate Buggy. Thank you. Next, we have a comment from Silvershot5208, who presents an overview here and says, "Yo, Coach, hope you have been doing well and hope you had a great birthday. It was an awesome birthday, man. Awesome birthday. Appreciate y'all. Should have Heat chapter this week, and there's no break next week. Let's go." There's a couple things that I want to point out in this chapter. We got to see all the ghosts in their prime: Roger, Ridley, Garp, Garling, Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, Shiki, Gloriosa. All of them look so raw. All of them, dude. Those Dollpay spreads went hard, bro. They really did. The two kids that Kuma healed were the same guys around Bonnie's crew when we first met her. Check chapter 498 for the reference. Yes, we talked about that in the stream, which I think is so cool, dude. Guinea inadvertently started the Great Pirate Era because of the signal she sent out. Yo, Guinea might be responsible for the beginning of a lot of different things, and we'll get into that whenever we talk about 1097. We almost got Ivankov with Kaido's fruit. Could you imagine, bro? Could you imagine Ivankov with a massive face, with the hell wink, and Kaido's fruit? Yo, that might be top one in the verse. Our Ivankov might be top one in the verse with Kaido's Devil Fruit. Aiki. Imagine the moves and exactly what it had. It would have been crazy. Kuma's an absolute gopher, not only saving a ton of people during the incident, but also for the fact that he said the word Nika in front of one of the 5 elders himself. That is one of my favorite scenes in the entire arc so far. That scene from chapter 1096 was amazing. Saturn, and for helping his people in the Sorbet Kingdom. Truly is a warrior of liberation, with the hands of liberation. Roger had the straw hat during this time, so when do you think he got his actual pirate hat, and what do you think the significance of the straw hat is? The significance of the straw hat, I feel like, is going to be its own separate video. That's, there's so much to dive into there. But in regards to getting his actual pirate hat, I'm going to assume when he gives the straw hat to Shanks, which is right after God Valley, right, or a couple years after that, that's whenever he'll probably acquire his pirate hat and give the straw hat to Shanks. I just don't know the circumstances surrounding that, like the significance behind the pirate hat as well. I'm looking forward to that. As also, in regards to both Shanks and Luffy, if they'll ever attempt to don that type of hat as well. I'm going to assume Luffy's going to stay with the straw hat for as long as possible, and maybe that's the reason why Shanks never donned a pirate hat as well, waiting for Luffy to return that straw hat. But I wonder if either of them are ever going to have like a Roger type of hat down the line in the series. But yeah, in regards to the significance of the straw hat, going back to what we were talking about earlier, Silver Shot, I would not be surprised if we get closer to understanding the true significance of the straw hat when we get to Elbaf, and we get to find out more about the Buccaneer race, and specifically their connection to Joy Boy and Nika, and especially the giant straw hat that's in the Marijoa, the quote unquote national treasure. So there's a lot that of course can go into the significance of the straw hat. Just it being worn by 3 legendary individuals, and Roger, Shanks, and Luffy is enough to be labeled as significance. But the true Void Century, back in the day significance is something I'm looking forward to seeing. There's a lot. There's a lot that you can dissect with the straw hat, but like I said, I think we're going to get closer to understanding that when we do get to Elbaf. The Rocks Pirates had mentioned something of significance in God Valley and a crown jewel of How Did You Know? So what do you think these things could be? There's a comment that we're about to get to here in a second that will discuss that. I am now 110% convinced that Guinea is now Bonnie's mom due to the fact that she is referred to as a glutton by Kuma, and Bonnie's epithet is the glutton. What's interesting is that could either confirm that Guinea is Bonnie's mom, that Guinea is Bonnie, or that Bonnie truly is a clone of Guinea. Because Oda's been very deliberate with a lot of different things in this arc, man. And to me, the whole glutton thing is just another, like, what do you really mean by that, Oda? You know what I mean? What are you really cooking there with that? More of the Holy Knights were revealed, and they all look like fire. And, and they all look fire. Absolutely. All of them look super cool. Plus, people have speculated that the guy with the gas mask is one of the kids from Big Mom's flashback. I did see that, which is so interesting, which would mean that some of the Holy Knights were actually individuals that they sort of like set places up in order to raise future Holy Knights, right? Like the individuals over there in Big Mom's flashback with Mother Caramel. So I wonder how many of those are not only throughout the world in One Piece, but how many are we going to get to see? And specifically because that one was on Elbaf, how important was that particular one to the WG? And what were they trying to find there, right? Obviously, there's been a lot of giant experimentation throughout the course of the time skip especially. And we understand that that's going to continue to gain importance as the series rolls on, especially with this flashback showcasing just how much they're putting into Giants and the Buccaneers, right? But regardless, also a name of the first 20 families has been revealed, the Manmayer family. Right. That's actually something that I completely forgot about. You're absolutely right. Another new name added on to like the Nerona dynasty and Nefeltari and stuff of that nature. The rest of the God Valley incident has not been shown because this is from the Kuma's point of view, and maybe next chapter we will delve into Kuma's later life and his affiliation with the Gold Government and the Revolutionary Army. And you were spitting on that. You were absolutely spitting on that. If your reaction next chapter is going to be peak, dude, Silver Shot. Little did you know the following chapter would be as amazing as it was. Thank you so much for the comment. Sticking to your crown jewel of Hachinosu. Let's get into that, man. Let's get into that immediately. Key and YT. Because this is so interesting to me. This treasure that Rox is infatuated with. Key and YT 5804 comes in and says, the biggest mystery for me from this chapter is what on earth is this crown jewel of Hachinosu that the Celestial Dragon stole. Whatever it was spurred Rox and Roger to both show up to God Valley, so it has to be big. Here's a few options I can think of. The Nika fruit, obviously, is powerful enough of a fruit to warrant this much of a fuss. It also fits somewhat with Rox's goal to take over the world. With all the talk and egghead of eternal sun, mother flame, and ancient technology powered by mysterious energy, the Sun God fruit could very well present an opportunity for world domination that we don't quite fully grasp yet, 100%, but which Rox did. It would also make sense if it were a devil fruit, since 2 of the prizes are already devil fruits, and that's exactly right. Shang stealing it back from the WG also makes sense, since he is also tied to God Valley and will therefore know about it. Number 2, Doflamingo's Marijoa National Treasure. Whatever this thing is, the way Dofi talks about it, bearing an interesting resemblance to what Rox was after. Not only does he say its very existence could shake the world to its foundations, he said it would allow him to seize true power. Sound familiar? Interestingly, he said he would need the Opie Fruit's immortality operation done on him in order to use it. 100% true. Also something that made the WG race God Valley, and that incident from history would 100% be something that could be blackmailed over by Dofi. Chapter 761 is worth a reread right now, in my opinion. 100%. 100%. Yo, I think we should all take the time to once again reread that incredible chapter. Number 3, and I love this, and I'm actually on board with this being the treasure. Captain John's treasure. At this point, I'm fairly certain whatever this treasure is, it was at God Valley. I mean, his line is, as he arrives at God Valley, is literally, Fee he my treasure. Now, whether his treasure is the thing everyone was thereafter, the crown jewel of Hachinosu, I can't be sure. What we do know is Buggy is looking for it and has the means to find it due to Luffy giving him that armband thing and it fell down. He got off John's corpse in Thriller Bark. Yes. With the way things have been going, I wouldn't be surprised if Buggy inadvertently ends up finding something of this magnitude of importance. The crown jewel of Hachinosu. Dude, because it's Buggy, that is why I think this is true. And we might be getting more Buggy Rox parallels if Buggy continues to add people into Cross Guild. Because if Buggy continues to get legendary individuals like Crocodile and Mihawk on his crew, and he establishes his own version of like the Rox crew, dude, if the parallels continue, we're not going to be able to go away from potential possibilities of that Rox Buggy connection. You know what I mean? It's been there for a long time. There's been speculation on it, right? But especially now with the Cross Guild stuff. And if it really is Captain John's treasure, come on, man. Come on, dude. Which is power to take over the world. 100% sounds like something Oda would do with Buggy. 100% sounds like something Oda would do with Buggy. The egg on the Oro Jackson. I love this theory as well. We know next to nothing about this, but through Roger, it could be connected to the One Piece. So it definitely has the potential to be powerful enough for Rox to want it. Also, if it was on God Valley, letting Roger keep it could be how he was convinced to fight with Garp versus Rox, protecting the Celestial Dragons, and why he kept quiet about the incident afterwards. 100% true. I do think Garp kept quiet about it in regards to on his side of things because of what took place, right? It wasn't because of some sort of agreement. But on Roger's side, after God Valley, if he were to come out of that with both Shanks and the egg, then that's like, okay, yeah, he went into God Valley for something and received two very, very, two things that are shrouded with so much mystery, right? Shanks, obviously, the mystery continues to unravel, and that is an individual, but the egg is something that continuously gets shown within the story. And Oda just recently re-released Chapter 0, which was right before the Shiki reveal, almost as a reminder for like the Ed War and stuff that was happening back then. So if we got that as a reminder, egg is in full prominence in that chapter. It's like, yo, what are you trying to tell us, Oda? Is that the treasure? Is that what is in that egg? What is in the, if like you said earlier, if fruits are considered treasure, wouldn't mythical creatures also be considered treasures? Actual, true mythical creatures? And if that egg, I mean, we're in an island called Egghead, man. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's going a little too far with that. But still, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know what he's cooking. But that is a fantastic theory. Ken Whitey. And actually, following that up, I thought this comment was very interesting. Raphael King 1378 says, Garp's wife in the background of him relaxing earlier on in the chapter, whenever he's chilling on the, looks like a beach. We do see someone in the background, and man, that could be Luffy's grandma. We don't know, man. But how awesome would that be? Then Sungjin Woo 332 comes in and says a hilarious comment. Mr. I don't hunt rabbits with a cannon has some explaining to do. I mean, yo, man, it is very specific wording, isn't it? It's like now we look back on that line from Mihawk, and we're like, whoa, where did that come from? You know? Now that we've seen within this chapter that was verbiage that was used for hunts like this. I mean, that's very... Anyway, my comment is about how the live stream, the hunting festival to Marijoa, like some must see sporting events and probably have bets going on and kids doing the hunt from home and stuff like that. And absolutely, bro, this really was their must see sporting events. This was their entertainment. And it's just, they are so messed up for that. So messed up for that. But in regards to Mihawk, we're continuing to build these pieces of lore around Mihawk ever since chapter 10. What was that, 1058 or 1056? Whenever we got the whole Marine Hunter stuff. I think that was 1056. Regardless, when we dive more into Mihawk's backstory, I wonder how deep his connection goes to either the Celestial Dragons or this entire scenario that's there, because it is very specific verbiage, very specific verbiage for especially considering how important Mihawk versus Zoro is. Oda probably knew this would be something we would continuously go back to, or maybe he just went back to that chapter, looked at that line, and said, "Yeah, considering who this person's connected to, I need to put this in the God Valley flashback as well, just to give the readers another thing to really think about." There's so many things already to think about, but now this is something else to think about. But it is interesting for the potential Mihawk connection to all of this, and how he would feel about stuff like this as well. So I'm very much looking forward to getting some more lore in regards to a Mihawk and why that line was stated by him and then presented with this scenario at God Valley. It's just, it's interesting stuff. But going into the Celestial Dragons, there was a comment that I thought was great by Josh Pointer, who says, this chapter was pure hype, but I've seen a lot of people skimming over the brutality of what the Celestial Dragons are doing and what the world government is doing. The brutality is just insane to me. Killing innocent people for fun, hunting them for fun, calling them rabbits, putting targets, actual target signs, on their backs, committing genocide for fun. It's just so sad to see. And the world government doesn't give a crap about it. Just like what happens in our world. Again, play into a role about the Rocks Pirates in God Valley. Or this can play into a role about the Rocks Pirates in God Valley. WG painting the massacres on the Rocks Pirates. 100%, as we've seen throughout the course of this story. Not only, like you said, this represents clearly real life. This has real life parallels for sure, as many things do within One Piece. But in regards to painting the Rocks Pirates as the individuals responsible for all of this, that's clear as day, man. That's exactly what they're doing. And, you know, throughout the course of the series, we have come to truly see what type of grotesque abominations the Celestial Dragons are capable of. But in this flashback, we are exposed to that like tenfold. And I'm glad we're seeing that, because it's followed by the Revolutionary Army that we know are declaring war on them in the present time. And so when we get back to the present time and we see what the Revolutionary Army is doing, regardless of them pulling up on Egghead or them going to the Mount of Joa down the line and whatever that ends up leading to, now that we see really what they're capable of, I mean, we've seen a lot of stuff throughout the course of the series. Like I said, a lot of things that led to one of the most iconic moments, Luffy punching the Celestial Dragon and stuff of that nature, for just how vile they can be. But this flashback shows that when these guys get together, oh man, I mean, they are the worst of the worst in this series. The absolute worst of the worst. And I appreciate it because throughout the course of the story, we have gotten so many characters that, and this is something I really love about One Piece, is that so many characters are clearly characters like NL, right? Or like Lucci, or like Dofi, Kaido, Big Mom. So many characters that obviously have reasons for doing things and what they're doing. It doesn't make them justified. But they clearly have things, these dreams of their own they're to accomplish. And Luffy has to crush their dreams in order to accomplish his, right? It's one of the things that really makes a lot of these forces work. Makes them work as foils for Luffy. But in regards to the Celestial Dragons, they are they are the foil for the main protagonists of this series. There is no greater foil, as we saw in Sabaody, for what One Piece represents than the Celestial Dragons. And I love that they have continued to be shown in this light, because to drive that point home, you need to showcase other individuals that are not like that. But that's why I think it's important for us to have Doflamingo, Shanks, and Mealsguard as individuals that we can look at and be like, man, the Celestial Dragons, up until this point, have shown so many different characters that are capable of vile, vile things. But even they have individuals who have brought some sort of either entertainment, like Doflamingo, and somebody who truly cares for his people. And other people, screw them, but his people really, really cares for his family. And then somebody like a Shanks, or somebody like a Mealsguard, right? Whenever you see these individuals, you're like, even the Celestial Dragons, even through the Celestial Dragons, Oda is showcasing that you cannot hate an entire group of people based on what the majority are doing. There are still some people in there that show the light even in the midst of all of that darkness. And that's what allowed the Celestial Dragons, to me, to work as well as they do. Because if literally all of them did what they're doing, that would just seem cartoony. But because most of them do it, with a small minority being the outliers, that makes it, to me, extremely realistic. And I love it. I love the way they've been portrayed, because it's necessary. It's necessary for them to be the endgame villains and being portrayed in this way, especially now that we're seeing how Imu and the Gorosei also look at humanity. It's all very, very important, and it's only just going to continue to gain importance as we look at the Void Century flashback and as we get into the end game of the story, right? And because the further down we get, the more vile these individuals have to be, as well as, I'm going to assume, especially characters like Imu and the Gorosei, they're going to get characterized more. But in regards to the Celestial Dragons, keeping that level of brutality is what's going to force them to be that foil for our crew and for the Revolutionary Army towards the end of the series. So it's a brutality that every time I see it, it makes me want to just smack them. But that's how you know it's working. Because somebody like me, like even looking at the JJK episode that just recently dropped, I love my villains in manga. I can't tell you that I have ever loved the Celestial Dragons. I love some of the Celestial Dragons, but as a group, their own villain group, man, they're vile. They make me want to swing on them, but that's how you know they're written really well, because when you look at the way the Bellamy was written in Jaya, that really made me want to swing on him. But we saw how that was leading in towards his redemption arc. With the Celestial Dragons, though, it's like that. If there was, I don't know if there will be a redemption arc down the line, but for right now, there is none. There are no redeeming qualities, at least for some of these individuals. And because of that, when you get like the sigh moment in chapter 907, or 10:8, no, that was, the Celestial Dragon one was 1084, I think, right? 1084, whenever Charles got swung on again by Sai and Leo. I think that was 1084. Regardless, when stuff like that happens, it's like it's still that classic Oda building a character up to make you really want to swing on him, and when the swing comes, like it's so satisfying. Imagine that 50-fold when we overthrow the Celestial Dragons after all of these years, right, of tyranny. It's gonna be sensational. It's gonna be sensational. But thank you for that wonderful comment. I'm gonna read this one from Subra, and then we're gonna get into a lot of Kuma and Bonnie stuff, man. A lot of Kuma and Bonnie stuff. So Subra comes in and says, "Hello, King, sorry for missing out the birthday stream. No worries, man. But the chapter was crazy, so here are some of my thoughts and predictions. Hands of Liberation, the hands that liberated Nika himself in Sabaody. It's beautiful Oda writing. So another interesting thing is Kuma in sunlight. After Sabaody, every time we see Kuma, he is under the sunlight. And there's another comment that goes into this here in a second that focuses on that. But it really is an extremely beautiful piece of imagery every time it's shown. Like Sabaody in front of the sun, you're coming back in front of Dragon. In this chapter, we see Kuma praying in the sunlight too. And this are some beautiful imagery. And I'm going to tell you right now, when Kuma dies, he's also going to die with the sun shining on him. I think that's what Oda is building towards. Is in whatever way, shape, or form Kuma does end up dying, when he dies, the sun will be shining on that man. I promise you, bro. And that is already at this point being built up to be one of the greatest moments in the series. But having that be the final image that we see of Kuma is him basking in sunlight. Oh man, bro. Oh man. Number 2, the sin. Saturn almost confirmed the sin was done by the Buccaneer race. It's almost related to Nika, or they tried to bring Nika back. So fascinating. So last possible, Nika was a Buccaneer. And I think they failed to awaken the fruit and was killed by Imu. And that's why Imu has kept that hat. That is a very, very interesting theory, Subra. The last individual who attempted to become Nika died, was unable to do that. And that's how Imu was able to take the hat. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Eva and Kuma, I'll never forget your face. Oh, man, dude. Man, it makes Marineford hit so hard, dude. Kuma forgot that face in Marineford. Facts. This chapter was painful and heartbreaking. Also, a fun thing is Ivanka was trying to eat that Kaido fruit. Imagine him in the dragon form. Top one in the verse. Roger, an interesting thing is in the volume 4 bill, we saw Roger get Shanks in God Valley. But in that image, we see Roger had a mustache and the Pirate King hat. Here in this chapter, both of those are missing in Roger's design. So that brings into question, was Shanks not there at this time, and did they return here again? I remember you shared that. So my whole thing, I think there's 2 things here in regards to that. Number 1, obviously the volume 4 bill thing was something Oda wrote on the side. So maybe that was just an oopsie on his part, because he has done that before, or he messes up in a character inconsistency. There's just so many characters to keep up with, right? That maybe within this particular portion of the flashback, he didn't write the mustache, then at the very end he does. But I think something that's very interesting, like you talked about here, is the Pirate King hat. And that's why I don't think it's an oopsie, and why they probably did return later down the line to retrieve Shanks. And when you think about it in that way, why return to God Valley after the God Valley incident? What would lead them to do that? Because like you said, right here he has a straw hat. He doesn't have the mustache. But he clearly has the Pirate King hat and the straw hat within that volume 4 bill page. So it's like, what then? Why come back to God Valley? What would cause them to do that? So interesting. Prediction, no dragon so far in the flashback. Yo, man, that's incredible, Supra. The fact that stuff like this is why I really wish I would have done the Afterthoughts last week. So I think Ivankov left and met Dragon on the way, and after the death of Guinea, Kuma joined Dragon to create the Red Army. So You were off on that, but you were right on the line of Revolutionary Army stuff incoming. With those Ivanka to stop innocent people from dying. I can totally see a chapter 100 callback. And when Saturn is about to kill Kuma or Luffy, Dragon stands behind him just like Smoker. I was just talking to my cousin about this yesterday. I can totally see that happening and stops him. 2 reasons I think Dragon will come is the Vegapunk connection with Dragon 100% and the Kuma favorite card will burning or something like that. But at this point, if Kuma dies and Dragon doesn't make a move, I don't know when he will. I'll hype chapter 1100 with the highest level of copium that he is coming. Yo, and I know Gold Slash will be joining you on that. Yo, we're all on that. Dragon coming 1100 or somewhere around there, right? Thank you for reading. Have an awesome day, Peak. Yo, thank you for the awesome comments, Subra. So now that we've read this comment, let's go into and transition into 1097 because there's a lot to talk about in regards to Bonnie and Guinea and Kuma, man. Everything has changed. All right, everything has changed. So let's go ahead and look at Dino. This one, of course, is talking about the sun. Once again, Dino 9631 comes in and says, if you look at Kuma praying, there's always sun shining on him. If you look at the chapter where Frankie meets Kuma after defending the Sun Ego, the recent chapter after Kuma is saved, where Dragon has talked to Kuma, the sun is always shining on Kuma. It just meant to be for Kuma's last moment to see Sun God Nika himself. Kuma's backstory really top tier. Such a precious, kind boy. He's the kindest of kind boys. But Kuma's last moments, all right? I've seen a lot of theories, both here in the Afterthoughts and floating around, about how Kuma's going to transition Pain, especially after the most recent chapter with like nothing happened every Sunday. But I think my favorite of all of these theories, the two, are the theory that Kuma is going to take all the pain he's accumulated up until this point and transfer that into Garcia Saturn. That is a theory I absolutely love, as well as the theory that he is going to take all of the pain out of Luffy, which we talked about in the Afterthoughts. I think we talked about both of these in the Afterthoughts last time. But both of those theories, both taking the pain out of Luffy, allowing him to fight Garcia Saturn, or taking all the pain he's accumulated and then pushing that onto Garcia Saturn. Either way, it's going to be pinnacle. It's going to be Zenith Media when that ends up being the case. And like I said, that final shot, I can see it right now. It feels like it's going to be Kuma basking under the sunlight, looking up at Luffy as he passes on. It's gonna be a very, very emotional moment, but I can just see it, man. Michael Mickles comes in and says, first off, thanks for streaming on your birthday. No, man, thank you all for being there. That was a fantastic stream. The rest of it went great. Now give me Bonnie. Now, Ginny being Bonnie's mom seems likely, but where could she have learned her technical skills? She looks a lot like York to me. And this is where stuff gets really interesting, man. Who is also a glutton. Maybe she learned from Vegapunk at some point and he modeled York in her memory. So do you think Roger was there for Rocks, the stolen Pirate Island treasure, or to stop the nobles? I do think Roger was there for the Pirate Island treasure, knowing he's a pirate. But stopping the world nobles maybe could have had something to do with it. Because it's Roger, I'm going to assume it was for a treasure or just to, fight with Rocks again. One of the two. Because Garp, of course, came there, even with all the stuff that was happening. He just wanted to see Roger in hands. That's the main reason why he wasn't there, right? So it would be really cool. It's like Garp going for Roger, Roger going for Rocks. It's like, man, you can most certainly see that being the case. But in regards to York and the technical skills, now this gets really, really interesting. Let's go ahead and read this comment too. From TH1RTI2, who says, I don't know why, but I can't get over that one panel where Guinea says that she's 4 years older than Kuma, and he looks confused. Also, her being able to wiretap at that age seems kind of odd. I think she might be the previous user of Bonnie's fruit, or she might have used it on her. There's definitely something going on with her I just can't wrap my head around. So we continue to cook there now. Let's hold on, before we go into 97, I wanted to highlight this real quick. Alexander Handworker 9760 says, Yamato being the Amazon granny's kid makes so much sense because of her snake name text as well. We're working up with this during the stream cooked on the High Street. Brandon King cooking to the High Street. Happy birthday again. Couldn't get through the stream of positivity when you were live, but I appreciate you for every stream you did so far and many more to come. Thanks so much for the kind words, dude. The Yamato being a Grand Neon's kid is like, I love that theory so much that like Brandon King pretty much like made it canon for me. All right, especially after the hype that we got in the most in when 1096 dropped. But regardless, let's go into the 1097 comments, keeping Michael's comment in mind, as well as the other comment as well, for what is really happening here with Bonnie and Ginny. We talked about a lot of these possibilities in the stream. Clone, daughter, multiple different things that have been foreshadowed, right? First chapter in the arc, you see Bonnie pops out of seawater as a small child. Okay, her true form is a small child. But then, chapter 1072's beginning narration, and then it transitions over into Bonnie, where it's like, did Vegapunk create Bonnie? That would imply that she's a clone of someone else. But here's the thing. As you guys have been stating, Ginny also shares qualities with some of the satellites. I would dare say that Ginny shares qualities with not just York. But as this comment right here states, where is the comment? Right here, Praetorus. Praetorus comes in and says, so Oda's holding back Bonnie's birth for some reason. She also doesn't seem to be a buccaneer. On Kev's stream, we put together that, shout out to Kev DOG. We put together that Vegapunk's human satellites have a lot of Ginny traits. Yes. Lilith is a cheapskate. She harvests scrap. York has her appetite. And Atlas has her temper as well as her hairstyle. Yes. So it just goes to show what we're about to see here with Ginny is about to lead into why Vegapunk created the satellites. Or the individual that was used as the catalyst for creating the satellites. So, with that being said, do y'all think there is a reason why we never saw Shaka's face? Continuing, not to mention they're all girls. So it's possibly that Ginny's lineage factor is the basis for the satellites. 100% looks like it could be the case. Kuma may be seeing through a plan that Ginny died for. Bonnie's supposed to be 24, so she would have to be 2 years old when Kuma was put in prison. If she isn't just younger than she seems, she could actually be a clone of Ginny. So many things to dissect here. But I think Ginny being used, her lineage factor, being used to create a Lilith, Atlas, and York, to me is almost guaranteed at this point. Because like you said, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in what we have seen throughout the course of Egghead Island so far. But it just goes to show, if that is true, then what led to Vegapunk attaining that lineage factor, as well as, because there's so much that we haven't seen yet with Vegapunk's connection to Kuma. Kuma's connection to Vegapunk would lead to what happens here with Bonnie for sure, but also the whole Kuma Pacifista thing as well, right? Kuma's lineage factor being utilized in order to create Pacifista, and he himself turning into a cyborg too, as well as him placing his memory on the side. There's a lot of different things we haven't seen yet. But when we get to all of that, I'm going to assume the catalyst to that begins next chapter with the retrieval of Ginny, or attempting to retrieve Ginny, right? With the Revolutionary Army attempting to get there. That's whenever Dragon, Kuma, and Vegapunk get their relationship reaches the next level, right? Because I'm going to assume once that happens, maybe Kuma brings Vegapunk back with him to the Sorbet Kingdom in order to help Ginny. Maybe she's near death or something along those lines. And if the clone theory is true, then Kuma, in an attempt to allow Ginny to live, or her memory to live on, he professes to utilize some of her parts in order to create a brand new Ginny, or an individual who can live on for her and in her stead, and that becomes Bonnie. or Bonnie herself is Guinea, as I have seen through other comments too. Due to the age thing, the memory was taken out, because we know that that's something that has been presented throughout the course of the series, with the weight of memory and the truth behind those things. Then there's also the possibility of Guinea being near death but still not there. Kuma and Guinea find their daughter who's already been born, and presents the situation there, or Guinea just dies within the section of the retrieval that they're currently trying to go to in the certain kingdom. There's just so many different possibilities that it's like my brain is frying right now. I can't even. I don't even know if everything I said right there was even coherent. It's just my brain can't keep up. There's so much information. There's so many things, bro. But it's like, man, Oda has been so deliberate with Bonnie in this arc, down to even her asking about Luffy's Nika form at the beginning of the arc, knowing how important that was to her father. It's like, man, so following that up, I want to talk about Akainu and Kuma the Tyrant. So, Recon comes in and says, adding to the Akainu theory I sent yesterday, it's interesting that the man who might have killed Guinea also had a run-in with Kuma before his final moments. In that chapter, Akainu almost felt bad for Kuma not being 100% there anymore, which it's truly a sad fate for my boy, as you said, Recon. I'm hoping that a future Akainu or Dragon backstory covers their interactions. If the theories come true, they are connected in any way. I think they're definitely going to be connected at this point. I think at this point it's almost inevitable. But I'm optimistic that is the route that we're going to, and if it's not, then that's fine as well. But you're absolutely right that the man who might have killed Guinea also had a run-in with Kuma before his final moments, and I wonder if that leads Kuma down the path that he ends up going down, which leads him to becoming the Tyrant. Now, I have 3 comments back to back before I say anything about Kuma the Tyrant, and these are all fantastic comments. So I'm just going to read them back to back to back. Akbar J comes in and says 2 things for next chapter. I think Kuma was framed as a tyrant because he caused a havoc and possibly a riot on that certain kingdom where Guinea was captured, and that's how Kuma the Tyrant was born. That incident was also how Kuma and Vegapunk first met. One of the chat in 1097 streams said that maybe, just maybe, Mads was the one who captured Guinea, and I love that. I love that idea for an unknown reason. Anyway, next chapter, Kuma will meet Vegapunk for the first time. Couldn't agree more. Next comment. King Arturo says, interested to see how Kuma is going to come into power in the Sorbet Kingdom. He may use his Double Fruit ability to teleport people, but the civilians may think he's actually killing them because they don't have that knowledge. Similar to the Wano situation where they think people who use fruits are gods or magicians or something of that nature. In this particular case, it's like if someone gets wiped out of existence, it would be the same thing that all of us felt at the end of Sabaody when they got smacked, or when Perona got smacked. We were like, did she just die? Did she just get wiped out of existence? And so, in this particular case with his ability, that absolutely could be the case. And following that up with the third comment, then King Arturo comes in with the crackpot theory, adding on, it says, they keep bringing up age of the old and young people in Sorbet Kingdom, where Bonnie's fruit can temporarily modify one's age, with potential costs like Kuma's. Kuma no longer had to take the pain of the old people, and everyone wanted to stay young forever. But potentially because of the drawback of using her power, Kuma didn't want Bonnie to go through that. So he teleported his own daughter. The civilians thought he killed his own daughter. Because remember, once again, this ability, when it's used, it looks like you're being popped out of existence. You're not there anymore. This, along with removing their chance for eternal youth, caused Kuma to be known as the Tyrant. All going down to the fruit, which has been emphasized from the beginning of this flashback. I love all of these ideas, and I think they all have equal value in regards to why he would come to be known as a tyrant. But I'm most certainly leaning towards the Kuma allow people to escape. And the thing is, it also goes into the line of the hands of liberation and salvation, considering that Kuma has now been presented as a religious figure within the series so far. I think it would be so thematically brilliant for him to save individuals that are on this island, but other people cannot understand what he's doing. And so as he frees these people, he comes to be known as the Tyrant because they cannot fathom or grasp what he's actually doing with his ability. That he's teleporting them to some place where their lives will be better on, man. It's like the idea of death, except in this particular case, he's allowing people who are suffering to literally go to a better place. And I think that is such it would be so beautiful. It would be so Kuma, right? So Kuma, who does not care about the way that he's perceived, the way that that he's attacked, as long as his people are good, as long as those that he cares about are fine. We saw in the most recent chapter, he had a nothing happened every Sunday. This man is willing to do anything means necessary to protect those that he loves. And so him being known as a tyrant would be a small price to pay to ensure that either his daughter is good forever or that his people are good forever, no matter how it is that they perceive him. Oh man, I love it. I love it. And going back to Akbar J's comment in regards to the Mads, and the havoc that he probably causes over here, I think this chapter also leads into that as well. We saw that Kuma, even though he's still extremely kind, there's a shift. There's a clear visual shift in the way that Kuma presents himself, especially in the latter half of that chapter. So with that being said, is that what Oda's leading towards? Is a very kind individual who snaps? Very happy individual whom the world has just caused to snap? Or when he gets there to the Mads, he snaps, but in a different way, where he's willing to do anything means necessary to help save someone whom he loves so much in Guinea. And that is how everything comes into place with the lineage factor and stuff of that nature. So many things can come into play there. But what I can tell you, Akbar J, is that you're 100% right in the Kuma and Vegapunk will meet for the first time next chapter. I think that is almost guaranteed. That is almost guaranteed. Because we have not seen him yet, and we know that he's going to have an integral part of this flashback. We don't know how long this flashback is going to be, but if Vegapunk, whom we know has been so important to this entire thing, has not been shown so far, just like we talked about Dragon in the most recent chapter, now it's Vegapunk time. And I'm looking forward to seeing that relationship blossom and bloom as well. But fantastic comments, and I love the focus on Kuma the Tyrant. I really, really do. So now, to end this off here, I have a few comments that I want to read. One comes from JD Double Dubs, who's going to be combining my thoughts in chapter 1096 to 97, so you read more comments, Coach. 1096, with how much Oda is hiding Rox's face, I'm starting to wonder if Rox is either going to look like an insane Chad, or if his face is going to end up as a gag. I think both are equally likely, considering Oda. Because this is my well, let me read your let me read the rest of your 1096 comment. You could argue that Oda wouldn't be so goofy with such a legendary figure, but then again, look at Gear 5th. I'm predicting that Rox is going to look and act like a combination of Luffy, Buggy, and Foxy. Luffy for his free spirit, Reckless is Buggy for not being respected by his own crew, and Foxy for forcing others to join his crew. So here's my thing. First and foremost, in regards to the gags, every single character within One Piece has to have a gag. Every character. Every single character. My whole thing with Rox, because it feels like he's so similar to Luffy, is that I feel like he's probably going to have an initial design similar to even Luffy's. Luffy, when you first see him at the beginning of the series, really does seem like a very goofy individual. He is a very goofy individual, but we know he can get very serious. So Rox to me strikes like the type of individual where when we first see him, going to have that initial goofy-like design that we're going to grow to love, like, a lot as a legendary figure, right? And especially with the things that he taps into, the taboo subjects, stuff of that nature. But here's my thing as well, in regards to why they're hiding his design, because I think that's very important. they're hiding Rox's design because either A, he has a clear connection to someone that we know right now, like the Blackbeard theories or the Buggy theories. Once we see his face, we're gonna note an immediate connection to one of the characters within the verse. Or what's on Rox's face is something that is connected to the Void Sentry. So a quick example of that is Dragon's scar, or the tattoo. Something that I believe comes from the Void Sentry. We just don't know that yet. In a similar type of way, I think what's on Rox's face, whether it be a similar type of mark or some type of scar, whatever it is, I think whatever is there, whether he's a Lunarian, whether he's a Buccaneer, whatever the reason being, why it's being hidden from us, is something that needs to be hidden because we either won't understand it, because we don't have the context for that yet, or that in itself would be a spoiler of like, whatever we were to see from his face would give off another hint, another major hint for truths in the Void Sentry. So, and the reason why I say that is because Roger and Whitebeard, even though they were clearly the most wanted pirates of all time, their faces aren't hidden the way the WG tried to hide Luffy's Nika face as much as they tried, right? The way that the Gorosei tried. And they succeeded with Rox. People don't even know what this guy looks like. So his design, similar to Nika's design, in and itself might be a spoiler. So, and what I mean by that is, the way that Nika's design within the bounty poster, to those who are in the know, will be like, oh my goodness, that's Nika. That is the Joy Boy. And they're trying to hide that as much as possible. Rox, whom they succeeded to hide, probably has that very same type of thing, to where when we get to the Void Sentry and we see someone who looks like Rox, whoever it is, we're gonna be like, oh my goodness, man, this was huge. Just like with Joy Boy and Nika in Gear 5. So I think that's why he's hiding Rox's face. It's for one of those two reasons. Either the design is like Nika in regards to Void Sentry importance, or we don't have the context to understand what it is that his design is important for, or has a direct connection to a Buggy or a flippin' Blackbeard or whoever, right? Someone from the current timeline that would give that away before receiving that information. So a lot of different things there, but like I said, he's 100% going to be a gag character, but I think he's going to be that Luffy mix of being an extremely goofy character with an incredible story. And there's no way Kaido, Edward Newgate, Charlotte Linlin, this entire squad, Shiki, follow this dude. The dude known as Roger's greatest rival. And he's not that guy. I don't care what he looks like. He's that guy. He's him. He's him. And the way WG have tried to erase this man's existence from the face of history? Nah, he's him. He's him, man. All right, so chapter 1097. Promises were meant to be broken. Dragon promised that Kuma won't regret following him. Maybe the kidnap of Guinea eventually leads to Kuma leaving the Revolutionary Army and joining Vegapunk. True that. If Kuma becoming a cyborg was always part of Dragon's plan, why would the revolutionaries invade the Holy Land to get him back? Surely if you don't want Kuma to be enslaved again, you wouldn't have allowed him to become a cyborg slave in the first place. You would have kept him close, especially with how powerful his fruit is. Just wondering if Kuma's more independent of the revolutionaries than we initially thought. It's one of the, to me, that final comment, JD Double Dubs, goes into what we're seeing from Kuma in this flashback, that I feel like even with his memory gone, his desire to protect those that he loves, no matter the cost of his own life, still remains. To the point where he would willingly sacrifice himself to ensure that the other revs are okay, or that his friends are okay, or those that he's close to are okay. And so in that regard, I feel like, yes, he's independent, but for that reason. solely for that reason. It's not like he mistrusts them or anything, but because he wants to protect them. And maybe that does have his roots in what we're going to see here very, very soon. But thank you, JD Double Dubs. Fantastic comment. Then Red-Haired Hank comes in, and then last one, we're going to read Gold Slash for last, because you already know we got a Hype of Dragon to end off the Afterthoughts. Red-Haired Hank comes in and says, Coach, you already know my agenda. At the very least, Dragon will be arriving on Egghead shortly after Kuma gets there. Kuma being in the state that he's in won't be able to do much, I suspect. However, I really like the theory you brought up in the stream that he's actually accumulating his own pain to hit Saturn with it. I love that theory, man. The people who came up with that theory, they were cooking. One thing I just realized is that Kuma must have a direct link to Bonnie in some way. Otherwise, why did he know he needed to go to Egghead? He must know her location at all times. It's like a GPS, right? It's like a GPS locator that's going to take me immediately over there. Like on your GPS, when you hit, we're going home, he must have a Bonnie button. We're going straight to Bonnie. You know what I mean? The next chapter is going to be tragic, unfortunately. Otis cooking up another tragic backstory for us. It's honestly the only thing Egghead was missing. I don't want to say it because the arc isn't over yet, but Egghead might be top 1. I'm right there with you, dude. I'm right there with you. Depending on the way this arc ends, it really might be my favorite arc in the series. Maybe it's because I caught up right at the end of the Wano. It's not because you caught up at the end of Wano. I've been caught up for a very long time. A very, very long time. We have been here throughout the entire part of the time skip. And I can assure you, there has never been a more incredible time to be a fan of this series than the era that we're currently living in the final saga. It is insane. It is insane, man. Feels like Oda's been cooking straight gas for over a year now. Truly. Truly, dude. Anyways, can't wait for next week. And also the Saturday, we're getting blessed with so much One Piece greatness. Now, yeah, I can't wait for the next chapter. And man, that Shanks episode is going to be awesome. But yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. Like, Egghead really does feel like it, depending on its conclusion, it could very well end up being the new favorite arc. And like, Wano, for me, felt like it wasn't going to be dethroned until we reached the actual final arc. But I feel like at this point, the entire final saga is going to be my favorite arc in the series. It's just, when you start off this high, it can only get higher. You know, it's like we still have so much greatness to experience. Final Saga Oda is different. And finishing us off with the Afterthoughts this week, Gold Slash comes in and says, you know me, Coach. Gotta try my Dragon promo for chapter 1100, man. Agenda piece. Come on, Gold Slash, give it to me, bro. We all want Dragon to show up now. He's too deeply connected. On a serious note, what if Guinea was pregnant but had the baby in Marijo while imprisoned? This idea fascinates me. Afterwards, the baby Bonnie was raised in the Holy Land by the 5 elders, or perhaps just Saturn. As a ward. That's why she gets away with so much, and what the elders refer to as a child, and as if they raised her. She was able to sneak around easily because she grew up in the Holy Land. I love that comment. I think that really does fit out there because but there was a real-life pirate named Anne Bonny that was imprisoned, but the execution was delayed because she was pregnant. That's a great point. That is a fantastic point and is a factual statement from our history. With the name also being Bonnie, maybe Oda used it for inspiration. Lastly, is it Kuzan that snuck up on Bonnie? The smoke in the only panel could be his cold air. Could you imagine? That's Kuzan's involvement in this flashback? Oh, man. Oh, man. Could you imagine? Have a good one, Coach. Yo, Gold Slash, man. Amazing comment to finish us off. So 100% Dragon. I can't wait for his involvement. It's like it's being put on a silver platter, bro. It's Dragon time. It is Dragon time. It is Dragon time, and I'm so here for it. So here for it. But this idea of Guinea being pregnant, but having the baby in the Mighty Joa while imprisoned, and then Bonnie goes through a similar type of birth as Kuma did. However, could you imagine her being raised by the Gorosei rather than having, you know, the Akuma who was tortured, who had his parents killed? Like, Bonnie, on the other hand, is treated more like a princess here in the Holy Land, or maybe not like to that regard, but is able to like go around in the Holy Land and maybe even treated as one of them. You know how interesting that would be? Especially with the way this flashback started, and we get a Mari Joa Bonnie chapter, or at least like a half a chapter, with Bonnie exploring the Mari Joa, and like you said, that's why it is that she knows the place so well. Maybe that's where she gains the age fruit too. There's a lot to be cooked there, man. There's a lot to be cooked there. Yo, Gold Slash cooking. Gold Slash is cooking there, bro. Especially with the Anne Bonny reference. But ladies and gentlemen, awesome afterthoughts this week. I appreciate everybody who left a comment. I apologize for not getting to all of them. There was so many for both 1096 and 1097. But man, I can't wait for 1098. This arc has been firing on all cylinders, but this Kuma flashback truly feels like it's going to be one of the all-time greats. I thank you so much for watching. Please let me know anything additional in the comments section down below. I'm going to try to get this out as soon as possible. I'm going to try to be early this week. But man, this was awesome. So many great comments. So many individuals were cooking here. Kuma the Tyrant, man. Is this where we're about to see why he gains that epithet? And also, is it time for Kuma Vegapunk stuff? When is Bonnie going to come into this flashback? There's still so much to see in regards to this flashback that it's like, man, it's so exciting. I just want to stay here, man. It's been so good. It's been so good. Kuma's been a fantastic central protagonist for this flashback. And I can't wait. I can't wait for more stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been it for the Afterthoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all for the next chapter of the best-selling manga in history, man. Kuma, man, the best boy.